You ever have one of those days where you wake up thinking your life is ordinary, predictable even, and then by sundown you realize the world you thought you understood is built on top of secrets, fear, and the sort of quiet war that most people never even see coming? Yeah, that happened to me, and honestly, looking back, I still can't believe just how far down the rabbit hole I was about to fall, all because of a package on my porch and the wrong neighbor with too much time and too little empathy. You know what I mean? So there I was, late summer, the air just thick enough to feel like you're breathing through a wet blanket. Our little suburban street lined with houses so similar, it's like someone stamped them out of the same plastic mold. My boy, Marcus, 17, long dreads tied back, earbuds in, just living in his own world, chilling on the porch with a lemonade sweating beside him. That's how it should have stayed, a peaceful, normal afternoon. But then the shadow shows up. Not a cloud. Not some stray dog. I'm talking about Mrs. Carmichael from next door, all decked out in her crimson suit, lips tight enough to snap. She steps up. Not a hello, not a how's your family, just jabbing that finger at two Amazon boxes like she's laying down the law. You, she says, her voice slicing through the air. Those are not for you. Hand them over. Marcus blinks, gives her the look I know too well. The one that says, lady, what are you even doing right now? But polite. Always polite. These are for my dad, got his name, our address, see? Calm, logical, offering her reality on a platter, but she's not biting. She takes a step closer, breathing fire, talking about you people and mistakes, and how she's expecting something important. The way she says you people just hangs there, heavy and greasy, like a threat without the decency of being honest. Marcus, bless him, doesn't flinch, points to the address, Unit 14, tells her no way, it's federal law. I can't give you my dad's mail, you know? But she's not having it. Don't you get smart with me, young man. She snaps, face burning red. I'm respected in this community. You could almost hear the neighbors holding their breath. The scene just cranks up from there. She accuses him of stealing, threatens to call the cops, says he looks like a thief. Marcus just picks up the boxes, heads inside, leaves her standing there sputtering on the walkway like some malfunctioning lawn ornament. That should have been the end. But this is suburbia, right? Nothing ever ends that simply when certain people get their feelings bruised. I pull up an hour later, wave at her out of reflex, see her on her phone pacing her driveway like she's planning an invasion. Marcus fills me in, all calm, sandwich in hand, but I can see the way he's holding it together. The racism, the entitlement, the way her voice went straight to threats. None of it was about packages. It never is. It's about control, about making sure the world lines up with her picture of who should be here, who shouldn't, who gets to belong, and who's always an outsider, no matter how many HOA rules you follow. I try to play the good neighbor, you know? Maybe if I give it a day, let things cool off, I can talk to her, smooth it out. That was my first mistake. You can't reason with people who've already decided the story. They're not looking for facts. They're building a crusade, recruiting their army before you even know you're at war. Next day, I see her trimming roses like she's punishing the flowers for not growing straight enough. I approach, all smiles, but before I can even introduce myself, she's rewriting the script. Your son tried to assault me, she says, voice like a steel cable. He was threatening, with that hair, that attitude. She's already the victim, the hero in her own story, and I'm just a footnote, a warning to her flock. And she actually uses that word, her church group who keep an eye on things. I realize, right there, it's not about me, it's about her needing an enemy. And just like that, the weather in the neighborhood changes. People get quiet when I walk by. Cars slow down in front of my house. Marcus goes out to shoot hoops. Suddenly every yard is full of people pretending to garden, but really, just watching. I get my first visit from the HOA guy, big, nervous, dog yapping at his side, telling me there's concern about aggressive behavior. Judith. Yeah, turns out Mrs. Carmichael's real name is Judith, is the one who organizes it all, and now my son is officially the problem in the community. I defend him, of course, but I see in the man's eyes, the story's already set, and I'm just giving them more lines. You want a twist? Turns out the flock is bigger than I thought. They've got their own Facebook group, Oak Grove Community Watch, and thanks to a quiet neighbor who slides me an invite, I see the dossier they've built on me, photos of my car, Wild speculation about my work hours, about Marcus, about every package, every late-night light. They've got this whole mythology spun out of thin air and hate, and it just keeps getting bigger the more they feed each other. It would almost be funny if it wasn't so dark, until the day they take it off the internet and onto my lawn. I'm mowing the grass, minding my business, when suddenly there's a semicircle of them. Judith at the front with a pamphlet about finding light in the darkness and some garbage about sinful natures. They want me to confess to being what they've invented, a menace, a predator, an outsider, and they want me to beg for their forgiveness. I tell them to get off my property or I'm calling the cops. They back off, but the lines have been drawn. This is no longer about misunderstanding. It's about territory, about who's in charge. It all comes to a head one night, red and blue lights flickering through the blinds, a sharp knock at the door. The police, responding to a 911 call about domestic violence, a supposed struggle and screaming that never happened. Marcus and I stand there, calm, let them check the house. They see nothing. The older officer glances at my work papers. Turns out I work for the state, investigating fraud and nonprofits. But of course, that just fuels the rumors. They ask if I want to file a complaint. I say no, not yet, but inside, a switch flips. I realize they've weaponized the state against me. They're playing for keeps. So am I. You see, the one thing Judith and her flock never understood is that some people know how to fight wars that leave no fingerprints. I dig in, use the skills I've honed for decades. Public records, property filings, IRS forms. Turns out, their church, Shepherd's Fold, is hiding something much dirtier than petty bigotry. Community betterment, funds going unaccounted for, an LLC in Judith's name flipping houses bought from families who suddenly move out, like the Chins, who tell me their own horror story of racist harassment, false CPS reports, and a forced quick sale of their home to the church treasurer. Follow the money, and you find the rot. But it doesn't end there. I uncover a land grab, a string of properties and vacant lots quietly purchased through shell companies tied to the board, Judith, the treasurer, the secretary. A construction firm, big campaign donor to the church, has inside info on a coming redevelopment. The plan? Harass outsiders, drive them to sell cheap, buy up the land, then cash in when the city pays out. It's big, it's calculated, it's criminal, and it's all hiding behind the mask of religious outreach. So, I build my case, not as a neighbor out for payback, but as a professional, every document cross-referenced, every piece of evidence logged. I use an anonymous tip to the Attorney General and the IRS. Package it like it's coming from an insider who's had enough. I even add sworn testimony from the Chins, screenshots from the Facebook group, copies of the fake 911 call. I know how this works. Once the wheels of the state get turning, nobody escapes. And then comes the crackdown. County inspectors post violation notices on Judith's door for running an illegal assembly. The flock splinters. The Facebook group falls silent. Then, the subpoenas hit. Federal agents at her door, then at the treasurer's, then at the church. Search warrants, computers, and ledgers seized. Judith's face, the day they walk her out for questioning, is stripped bare of all that righteous arrogance. A woman undone by the world she built on suspicion and fear. The news breaks. Racketeering, wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. The entire leadership of the church is indicted. The IRS revokes the church's tax-exempt status, seizes assets, sells Judith's house at auction to pay restitution. The so-called flock melts away, their reputations in ruins. The street, for the first time in a year, feels like a place to breathe again. Marcus leaves for college. Pre-law, wouldn't you know it? And the house next door fills with the laughter of a new family. The church building sits empty, a for sale by state sign on the lawn. I sit on my porch one afternoon, lemonade in hand, watching a package get delivered, and my new neighbor waves, joking about all my deliveries. For a split second, I feel the old anxiety. Then I realize the air is different now. Light, peaceful. Here's the thing, though. The neighborhood never knew what happened behind the scenes. Never knew who brought the whole rotten structure down. They just knew something changed, and for the better. No trophies, no applause, just the quiet, methodical work of justice. That's how it should be. Because in the end, real justice isn't about revenge. It's about restoring balance, about making it safe for the next Marcus, the next family, The next person who just wants to live in peace without being forced out by hate and greed. So, tell me, if this was your street, your home, your kid, what would you have done? Is justice still justice if nobody knows your name? If nobody thanks you, but everyone is a little bit safer? Comment below, because maybe your answer is the beginning of the next story.